How are you going to fly a flag of a country that you do not want to go back to while being in a country that you would rather stay in? Make that make sense to me. How is everybody doing? I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Tis I, the Native Patriot. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just wanted to make a video, something titled along the lines of reacting to the anti-ICE protests that are currently happening. It is February 2025. If you have not already, feel free to go watch my last video, which is a video I made of my experience going to the Donald Trump inauguration watch party in Washington, DC. I just wanted to make a video kind of just me reacting to like all of these anti-ICE protests that are going on, mostly in these liberal cities. And before I continue, I just want to say these are obviously just my opinions. Some of these videos may be from like Trump's first term, but the sentiments are still the same throughout all of this. But we're just going to go look at a couple of these videos. Say it loud, say it clear. Okay, so the first part of this video, it's so frustrating because, and I might re-mention this later on in this video during this discussion, but what is really frustrating about this whole, like, I guess, discussion is I feel like it's been intentional, but I feel like there's this kind of muddying of the waters of illegal versus legal immigrants. And he says that immigrants are welcome here. I'm one of those people that I'm like, I don't care like who you are, as long as you just do it the legal way. It's been very deliberate that we've muddied the waters on illegal immigration versus legal immigration. So this guy says that immigrants are welcome here, and they are 1000%. I believe that as well, as long as they do it in the legal way. But we'll go to the next one. This one here is actually in Dallas. Dallas tends to be really liberal. And this video is kind of interesting in the sense that it's frustrating. There's a guy that was holding up an American flag with a Trump flag, it looks like. And then one of the protesters, the anti-ICE protesters, came up behind him and stole his flag, or tried to. And now there's a brawl, apparently. Not really a brawl, but just trying to get his thing back. Oh yeah, and so this guy just threw this American flag, and that is completely frustrating. I'll kind of get to my thoughts in a little bit because there's another video that I have. But it's just stupid. It's like, it's very infuriating. Well, let's go to the next one because that one really starts to make my blood boil, honestly. And this is in Salem, Oregon. Well, I mean, Oregon makes sense because it's very liberal. It says F ICE. And all these people are wearing, most of them are wearing the Mexican flag, which is very interesting when you think about this. It's just very interesting to me that these people are flying a flag of a country that they do not want to go back to. Make that stuff make sense. You're so proud to be from Mexico or have Mexican heritage, and you're flying the Mexican flag in the United States, and then this other person in the previous video stole someone's American flag and then threw it on the ground. People were cheering, but then you don't want to be deported back to Mexico, or you don't want your relatives to be deported back to Mexico, or you're even irritated at the thought that any illegal that is here illegally that's from Mexico should go back to Mexico. It just, none of it makes sense to me. Like, how are you going to fly a flag of a country that you do not want to go back to while being in a country that you would rather stay in? Make that make sense to me. It looks like this is in California. It says KTLA, so it looks like California. I mean, I see a couple American flags, but it's like, again, these people are like carrying the Mexican flag of a country that they do not want to be deported back to. It's just, make it make sense to me. Like, immigrants built America. There's a difference between legal and illegal immigrant. If you want to use that word immigrant, you have to distinguish the definition between legal and illegal immigrants. To me, the whole point of that is so that people can say like, oh, you're xenophobic, oh, you're racist because you don't like immigrants. And it's like, no, I'm sure most people like me who voted for Donald Trump, brown people like me that voted for Donald Trump, we don't care that you're an immigrant. We care that you're an illegal immigrant because you should be doing it the right way. And I'll probably talk about this later because I know that there's plenty of arguments about how the current system, it just takes way too long for people to become legal citizens. Therefore, somehow it's okay to just jump through the line, which I don't agree with. And sure, there could be a discussion had to make the legal immigration process like faster. But at the same time, it's like, just because it's slow doesn't mean that you just get to hop in line. And this one says, my uncle is not a criminal. Technically, if you're jumping across the border illegally, technically that's a crime, and technically that makes you a criminal. A lot of these illegals that are coming, like, they go to New York and they get hotel rooms and they get all this stuff, but it's like the rest of us, first of all, it's our money as taxpayers that are footing these bills and all this stuff, or footing the money for all of these services. So it's frustrating, and people are fed up. And it says here, I prefer my ice crushed. Are we not allowed to like enforce laws? You know what I mean? Just because people have an emotional reaction to things, are we not allowed to enforce laws? Like, countries have laws, and if you don't like the laws of the country, you don't have to be here. Nobody's forcing any of these people to be here. And if you don't like our countries, if you don't like the laws of the country, and you're saying that you prefer your ice crushed, which is, our federal agents or whatever, you don't like them, you can go back to wherever you're flying the flag of, wherever you feel more comfortable. All of these flags from a country that you do not want to go back to, and you have this like pride, and I get it. If you want to have pride, have all the pride you want, but don't have all this pride and then you don't want to go back to that country that you feel prideful enough to wave the country flag of. For some reason, all of these Central American and South American countries can have laws and borders, and they can put their foot down on things, but for some reason the United States can't. It just does not make sense, and it's so frustrating. All of these anti-ICE protests, I feel like, are doing the opposite damage of what they're intending. I feel like these people that are anti-ICE protesting right now, they're trying to show that they're in solidarity and blah 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 blah. But I feel like now it's actually pissing off more Americans, where more Americans are like, you know what? I kind of was like, in your corner a little bit, like, and I even thought myself, like, I was one of those people that I'm like, deport all of the criminal aliens first, and then maybe like the rest of the people that are here illegally that do not commit crimes other than crossing the border, that are non-violent, like maybe provide them a pathway to citizenship. But seeing all of these anti-ICE protests, seeing the way that some of these people are feeling so entitled to our country and to citizenship, I feel like it's actually pushing people away. And like, I'll be honest with you, like, it's frustrating me too. You have so much pride for a country that you don't even want to go back to, and then you're taking people's American flags and you're burning them in the country that you want to stay in. Then at the same time, you're repping a flag of a country that you don't want to go back to. I think a lot of these protests are actually having the intended, or the opposite intended effect. I think it's radicalizing more people to actually support more deportations, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of Native Americans that hate Trump that are claiming that ICE are trying to deport Native Americans, or which doesn't even make sense, because it's like, where are you going to deport them to? Like, I haven't seen any videos or actual any evidence of this happening, where ICE is like allegedly harassing, quote unquote, Native Americans about like citizenship.
I also just want to add something here that I think is important about this, is that it's totally possible also that people are just claiming that they're being harassed as Native Americans, saying that they're being harassed, quote unquote, by ICE to show proof of citizenship or something like that. And we don't know if these people, or I don't know if these people are actually like telling the truth about this. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And then there's also something that could be possible as well, is that these people that are allegedly being detained by ICE and questioned about their citizenship, claiming that they're Native American, there's people that say that they're indigenous to Mexico, and that this is something that I talked about earlier, is like this kind of muddying of the waters. Like, when I say Native American, I mean United States, like within the United States borders. I'm talking about tribal members within the United States, Native American to within the borders of the United States. I'm not talking about like indigenous to Mexico or whatever, or Central America. When I talk about Native Americans, I mean United States citizens. I mean people within the borders of the United States. What I'm saying is that these people that are allegedly being detained as Native Americans by ICE, maybe these people are actually possibly like citizens of Mexico that claim they're Native Americans or say they're indigenous when they're actually Mexican citizens. But again, this is all just speculation.
Say that was actually the case, like that's so easy to just be like, here's my license. I'm actually, like, for me, I'm Navajo. You can probably check your little computer to see that I have a social security card. I'm a legal citizen. I'm Native American. So easy.
I want to add one more thing here, and I swear I'm really not trying to make this longer than it has to be, but I just really want to be clear on these things, because what I just said is that, like, you know, it should be pretty obvious how to like show an ICE agent if you are a Native American to like tell them like, hey, I'm a Native American, here's my ID, and maybe here's my tribal ID. But I guess tribal IDs may not be like recognized by the federal government. But I'm just saying, like, the point I'm trying to make is that like it should be pretty easy for a Native American to prove that they're Native American from within in the United States, to prove that they're like a United States citizen. Like, I'm sure they at least have a driver's license or have like a federal ID or a state ID or whatever. Like, there's ways to prove, to like show that you're a United States citizen. And what bothers me about this whole thing is that these anti-ICE people, they're blaming ICE agents and like Trump voters, but really the blame should be placed on the US government, who has failed to do anything about the border crisis that has been going on. And even, you know, you go back 10, 15, 20 years, like even the Democrat Party, like they were running on closing the border and taking that seriously. And I also want to make it clear, like, I'm not like necessarily blaming people that are coming here illegally. Like, I'm sure there's some really nice, wonderful people in that group of people, of illegal immigrants, that really just want to come here and make a nice life for them. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it's like you have to do it in the legal way. Also, when it comes to like specific accusations of the reason why so many drugs are pouring across the border is because we're buying them. Like, I will agree that Americans that are addicted to drugs and like fentanyl is coming across the border too. Like, we also need to take accountability as Americans. Like, we Americans are buying a lot of those illegal drugs that are coming over the southern border and northern border. I think a possible solution, which should be pretty obvious, is that if we could stop worrying about the southern border so much and the northern border by securing them, we could divert all of that time that we used to spend worrying about the border. We can now spend that time worrying about Americans, putting Americans first and putting their mental health first, and focusing on getting Americans better mental health solutions so that they don't have to turn to drugs. And lastly, I can already like read it and hear it in the comments that me, as a Native American Trump supporter, if I get stopped by ICE to ask about my citizenship, that I deserve it. And that would be a pretty like easy solution for me. Also because I live in a really conservative part of Texas, and all I would have to do is, number one, comply. Number two, be like, here's my driver's license. I'm a Native American. I am a United States citizen, and it would be a pretty easy solution, I think.
It's just crazy. Like, there's so much fear mongering going on. The left is doing so much fear mongering, yet they want to blame us. Like, we're the ones that are fear mongering everybody, but it's like their media, and they're the ones on social media saying that Native Americans are being harassed. Again, I still have not seen that video evidence or any evidence of this actually happening. If it did happen, all you have to do is like, I'm a Native American. I'm an American citizen. My ancestry has been here for thousands of years, and that's it. That's literally it. You know what I mean? And another thing that's kind of like related on this whole topic is just this whole land back thing. And like some of the protesters, anti-ICE protesters, will have like, no one is illegal on stolen land. And I quote that, on stolen land, because it's like every civilization have stolen resources and done stuff to each other over the process of 1,000 years. My ancestors, they lost a lot of wars. the settlers came here with guns and more powerful technology, and we got conquered, and our lands got conquered, and that sucks for my ancestors back then. But I'm living today in a country that affords me what it has afforded me. Like literally right now, I'm on a camera. I can only be grateful for that. I could have been born in a third world country. So it's like I got the luck of the draw, and most of us did that are born in this country, which is why people want to come here, which is crazy to me to even think that like all these people want to come here, and then there's people that are refusing to leave this country, that are here illegally, that are wanting to stay here, but at the same time hate this country in a way. It just, again, does not make 1000% sense at all. The borders are the way that they are. The United States is a country, it has laws. Mexico is a country, it has borders, it has laws. Every country, at most places on this planet, they have their boundaries, they have laws. You can't go back now and try to be like, okay, well, I'm basically not gonna listen to your laws because this is stolen land. The whole argument of like the land back situation just doesn't make sense whatsoever, because like I said, countries have borders, deal with it. Also, something that I kind of want to mention is a lot of these people that are like pro illegal immigration or whatever, I don't think they take 2 seconds to kind of realize actually how inhumane it is. First of all, Selena Gomez is crying about people being deported, but the people that have recently been deported have been like a majority of like people that are doing really awful things, like hurting other people, committing really heinous, awful crimes. Why would you be crying over deporting people like that? I don't understand this whole thing of like how leftists or whatever think that it's humane to be okay with illegal immigration, because it's like people are being trafficked over the border. When you're not checking these people, a lot of these people that come over the border are maybe not even with their actual families. They may be small children that are being human trafficked. How is it humane to continue to let that happen? Not to mention like those thousands of kids that are unaccounted for. God knows what has happened to them and what they have dealt with throughout this whole thing. How is that even humane? It's actually more humane to check people and be like, hey, like, is this your kid? Is this your wife? If it's not, like, we can do something about it. But when you're just letting people come into this country and we have no idea who they are, it's just such a silly idea that it's more humane to not say anything at all about illegal immigrants. Does that make sense? Something that I've heard many a times as well is this whole like how rude it is to like separate families. For example, like my dad, maybe he went drunk driving or something like that. Is he not supposed to go to jail just because of the fear of separating us from each other? Like, it doesn't make sense. No, he should go to jail because he did something he wasn't supposed to. And if that means that I'm dealing with the consequences of not having a father because he's a criminal, what is that? Like, that's not everybody else's fault. That's my father's fault. Another thing that I kind of wanted to mention, which I hear all the time, is like these pro illegal immigration people that are like, well, they do the jobs that Americans are too lazy to do. The reason why Americans don't want to do a lot of these jobs that illegals tend to do is because these jobs are not being paid enough. And so these companies, they hire illegals because illegals don't have the leverage to be like, you know what, $10 an hour is not enough. Like, can you give me 20? Because their employer is going to be like, no, like, I'm going to pay you whatever I'm going to pay you because you're illegal. And if you say anything back to me, or if you try to rise up, all I have to do is call deportation. You know what I mean? Like, these illegals, they don't have the leverage to ask for more money. Therefore, they're caught in this almost slavery, it seems like, of working for really low wages. So it's like, yeah, these illegals are doing these jobs because these employers are not paying enough. And yes, I agree that these companies need to start paying people better wages. And if that means that the product at the end of the day is going to be more expensive, then that it is what it is. You can't have everything cheap, fast, easy. Another thing that I have heard recently with all of these deportations is allegedly there's illegals out there that are saying that they're being mistreated when they're being deported. And first of all, who knows if these people are even telling the truth? If there are illegals that are being mistreated, they should not be mistreated when they're being sent back. You know how you can avoid being mistreated by deportation or ICE or whatever is just probably by not coming to the country illegally in the first place. That'll probably stop this alleged mistreatment from ICE deportation people or whatever. And to kind of close this whole video off, it's just a lot of this is super frustrating. A lot of this is why we voted for Donald Trump. As Americans, we're tired of feeling that a lot of people that are here illegally are getting treated way better than us. For some reason, other countries are allowed to have borders and to have laws that are enforced, but for some reason, it's not the same for the United States. When is it going to be okay for Americans to actually be like, you know what, it's time that we stop worrying about other people coming into this country. Maybe it's time that we focus on the people that are here in this country already. When is it going to finally be okay for Americans to enforce our border? When is it finally going to be okay for us to say enough is enough? We want to focus on our interests first. You know what I mean? Like, when is it going to ever be an appropriate time? Because according to the people on the left and according to these pro illegal immigration protests or whatever, like, there's never going to be an appropriate time for Americans to finally say enough is enough. This administration is us saying enough is enough. What I'm just, I guess, saying is that we do have a right to say how things are going to happen in our country. And one of those things is saying that, hey, you know, we're tired of illegal immigration. We want legal immigrants. We love legal immigrants. We love people coming to this country who love this country. And maybe we need to stop focusing on allowing people in this country who are waving another flag of another country that dislike our culture, our American culture, that dislike our laws, that hate our country. Why are we spending so much time trying to cater to them and allowing them into our country? Enough is enough. We want legal immigrants that love our American values. I know this video may have been all over the place. It's been frustrating to watch all of this, but at the same time, it's just been a long time coming. I'm going to stop it there, and I will see you guys later. Bye.